Hi friends, how are you today? I'm just trying to get my document up so I can see it. Yes, I have notes. It's better for me to come here with notes so that I give you a good solid presentation. So I hope you don't mind that. So today we're going to talk about Mattel. Yesterday launched their new, I don't know if it's for sale yet, launched their new Barbie doll. It's an autistic Barbie. And so we're going to talk about it. It's been well received by some, but not by others. Hang on a sec. I just got to shut my door. It is wintry cold today in Alabama. So good morning and welcome to today's presentation. I hope all is well. I hope the new year is treating you and your family well. Okay, so slow connection, there we go. Hi Chris, hi Envy. So today's presentation, here's the agenda for today's presentation. So first we're going to talk about why the new Autism Barbie doll really matters. We're going to talk about where inclusivity helps and where it falls short. We'll cover a little bit of representation gaps for profound autism. And then we're going to talk a little bit about bigger systemic issues, because I'm not here just to sit around and critique, hi Melody, a Barbie doll. Hi Kathleen, I'm here to really focus on bigger issues for our community. So we want to talk about some of the bigger issues that are impacting this conversation. There we go. Okay, so there are some pros and cons. I don't know if you have actually seen this, but Mattel, the maker of Barbie, has launched a new Barbie doll, a new autistic Barbie doll. They worked with ASAN, which is the Autism Self-Advocacy Network, which we're going to talk a little bit about that later. And so there are some, if you've seen, there are some pros and cons, and a big discussion coming out about autism and inclusivity and how it's received in the world. And so in a way, it is good that they launched this so that we can really open this discussion, because it's such an important discussion. So there are some pros, of course, to this Barbie doll. Not everything is bad. The Autism Barbie signals that autistic people belong in mainstream culture, and of course, they certainly do. All our autistic friends and family members and acquaintances, all those people do, all the people on the spectrum belong as part of our mainstream culture. Representation like this can reduce stigma. It can invite conversations about the autism spectrum and neurodiversity. I really don't like that word personally, but because yes, autistic brains do develop differently, but I personally believe there's a cause and a reason for that, and it's not evolution or strictly genetics. And then for some families, especially those with verbally fluent children, this feels affirming and validating. So the doll, if you haven't seen it, it comes with headphones, which is great because there is a large portion of the community of people on the spectrum that do need to use headphones frequently or all the time. She comes with a fidget spinner. She comes with tagless clothing, which I wasn't aware that Barbie clothing had tags, but okay. They've made her hands flexible like this, so to represent flapping, as I understand it. I believe they've done something with her eyes. People with autism don't often, or at least some types of autism, can't tolerate eye contact. And the other, she comes with a spelling board, which is interesting. But some may call it an AAC device, and some may call it like a spell to communicate device. So I think that's good. So it does, the doll at least acknowledges issues like hand flapping, hearing sensitivity, and communication challenges. So that is a positive, and for a child, that's great that they can see themselves in a doll. But the problem is, and here are some of the cons, that normalization can become oversimplification, which has, I think, been the problem for a very long time with autism. So Barbie is presenting autism as tidy, manageable, and largely aesthetic. This risks minimizing the realities of people who have kids who are profoundly autistic, or if you prefer me to say level 3 autism. For example, non-speaking. So like she does have this speaking device. So that is something, but non-speaking, severe sensory distress. She does have the headphones, which I guess address that. Aggression or self-injury and total dependence, which I don't know how you would represent that in a doll, really. But I guess it kind of here's this, and by the way, she is a Barbie doll. So she's got like hair down to like below her waist. I don't know if you have a profoundly autistic child with super long hair. I don't. We trim her hair regularly because she gets into all kinds of things with her hair and she can't tolerate the knots. So I thought the long hair representation was ridiculous, kind of the perfection of it all. And when autism is primarily portrayed as a difference, real disability can get erased or take a hit or be minimized. Level 1 autism is primarily also prevalent in boys. Level 3 is comprised, people with level 3 autism are mostly girls. So who is this doll for? Because our boys, as a friend of mine who has, I think she has one child very, very high functioning on the spectrum. And she said, shouldn't it be a Ken doll and not a Barbie? And I thought that was really good. Not that there aren't level 1 kids who are girls, but I believe I just read it this morning, 3-to-1 or 4-to-1 for autism in general, boys to girls, and primarily that's level 1. Whereas in level 3, it's more girls than boys have profound autism. So, and that's something we don't talk about enough, because obviously the functionality of however autism comes to be functions differently in boys and girls. If the boys are mostly level 1 and the girls are mostly level 3, that's something I think science should be looking at. Like, why does it shake out like that? We always just tend to focus on it's mostly in boys. But hearing that information last year that a high number of profoundly autistic people are girls or women, we need to think about that. And that's aside from the issue of are girls underdiagnosed, which is another problem. But so autism, we run the risk of doing something, a harmful public assumption like autism is just quirky and smart and independent, which is what has been rammed at us for years. And for those of us who have children who will never be independent, it's very frustrating. It's very glorified. I will not, what's the Good Doctor, is it called? I have no interest whatsoever in watching a movie a TV show that glamorizes autism like that, which is no offense to anyone who does have high functioning autism, but I don't want it glorified, right? We're all, as a Christian, we're all broken humans. So I don't like to see glorification. And one of the bigger problems here is the organization that they worked with ASAN or ASAN, I don't know how people call it, and the DSM-5 umbrella. So let's talk about that. So Mattel partnered with ASAN, which is an organization that has historically dismissed or opposed the concept of profound autism, which is like the nicest thing I've ever heard about them. I have heard things about the prior head, the man who started it up, that I don't have enough evidence to repeat that he actually said this on Twitter, so I will not say, but he is not, it's part of this organization, is part of why we call people autistic instead of they're humans first with autism. So I think that's a really important issue, saying autistic or not saying autistic. For example, I have a daughter with Down syndrome, and it's offensive to me if you say you have a Down syndrome child. It's like, no, I have a child, a human, who happens to have Down syndrome. I also have a human who happens to have profound autism. So even though I have used the word autistic, I don't actually believe in it. I've actually used it because people in my audience, people who I want to reach, are more comfortable speaking about it that way. But this concept that you're autistic first before you're anything else has actually come out of organizations like ASAN, out of a, not for a positive way, but kind of out of a, I personally believe we're better than everyone kind of way. Which is, I understand wanting to give people on the spectrum respect and their due diligence to give them respect and dignity as humans, but we all need the respect and dignity as humans. You are a human being first, and whatever else goes into you comes next. There are actually many communities that people prefer to be defined by their preferences or ideology or something about them, rather than that they are a human being first. And I disagree with all of them, but that's just me. So, well, part of this is that this shapes the focus on ignoring profound autism, shapes who gets represented and who gets excluded. And then we go back to the DSM-5. So what is the DSM-5? It is the diagnostic, I forget what the S is, something manual. And it's what therapists and psychologists and psychiatrists use to define different disorders, like neurotic or psychotic or schizophrenia. And so they use it in the diagnostic. We used to have Asperger's, which was more the higher functioning group. Asperger's got taken out, and all the high functioning and all the difficult functioning people all got put in the umbrella of autism, and then they may be level 1 and 2 and 3, which honestly there probably should be more levels too. And their removal of Asperger's may collapse very different support needs into one diagnosis. And whatever level you are, if you read the little spurt, depends how much support you need. And it's kind of to compare a level 1 and a level 3 or a person on the autism spectrum it's night and day. It's just, because a lot of us with kids who are level 3, they can't sit in a regular classroom. They'll never hold a job. They'll never get married. They'll never have kids. They'll never be independent functioning. They may never hold a job. And if they do, they're going to need support. They're going to need lifelong support. Many of them, even as adults, are in diapers and cannot communicate. And you're comparing that to someone who is, they're so amazing, they're so smart, they can do everything. Look at the movie The Accountant. I love and I hate the movie The Accountant for this reason. They're so smart, and they're the future of the world. And let's go back, Beethoven must have been autistic, and Einstein, and we don't even know that. There's no way to tell that. So I think that's really important. And the single umbrella, what it really does, hi Robin, is create confusion, misrepresentation, and policy blind spots. That's for sure. We just tend to think autism is all beautiful, lovey, wonderful. Look at this beautiful Barbie. Now, I do get, though, that for some, I had really active conversation on my profile about people who it upset, people who were kind of right down the middle. Most of them saw both sides of it, and people who were really happy that finally there is a Barbie, there is a doll that represents them. But I think it's a challenge. One label covering everything under autism, I think, was a disservice. I have my own ideas about why I think that was intentionally done, and not for any positive outcomes, actually. I don't think it was done for good reasons. I think it was done to hide our profoundly autistic kids. That's my opinion. I think they are hidden, and I think a lot of our kids who have profound autism, I think there is an environmental issue. I honestly think there's genetics and environment play a role for all of them. So, just to recap, the Autism Barbie is a step towards inclusion. But inclusion without accuracy, without quality representation of an entire group, does have consequences. And when autism is normalized without acknowledging profound disability, families that have the highest support needs are left out and further silenced. Representation matters, but so does truth and ranged and lived experience. And until we distinguish clearly and include profound autism into the conversation, products like these only reflect part of the spectrum, not the whole. And I personally hope that at some point we get to the point where we can take out profound autism and then we can deal with things better, like if you had a separate diagnosis in the DSM-5 for high functioning, and we just called it HFA, level 1. We're putting the level 1 people, pulling them out of autism, we're giving their own special group because they definitely have support needs, but they do not need a one-on-one lifelong monitoring. They do not need medical equipment because of their autism, right? And then we took all the other people and we put them over here. Wouldn't that make benefits like Medicaid and autism care programs? Wouldn't that make it easier? Because now we know that these people, I'm not saying they don't need help and support, but they don't need the level of help and support like a one-on-one aid, right? Like, so if my husband and I die, we don't have any family really that can help us. My kids need to be placed in a home, and my autistic daughter would need to be placed in a home because she needs someone to take care of her 24/7. She can never be left on my own. Even my daughter with Down syndrome can be left on her own, but Zoe cannot because of her executive functioning challenges. A person with high functioning autism probably does not have that challenge and doesn't need as many resources. They need resources, but they just don't need that level of 24/7 care. So anyway, what is your opinion? I want to hear from you. What do you think of the Autism Barbie? Have you actually seen it yet? Would you buy it? Would you, do you think it muddies up the conversation? What is your experience? And I don't think there's any wrong answer here. It's out, it's there. It makes some people happy. It makes some people angry. And I can kind of see both sides of it. So I would love to hear your input. Please share, and hope you have a great day. And I will talk to you again soon. Bye.